everyone, Ashley Mailloux here, taking a look at the Tuesday race of the day for July 29th. We'll go out to Assiniboia Downs. They have an 8-race program. We're going to focus in on race number 4. 4 fillies and mares. It's a 6-furlong event. Claimers, $7,500 is the claiming price, and a field of 7 in Huron. Short price on the morning line as we take a look at the field. The 4 Load Abroad is going to be very short, 6-5. Obviously had 3 wins in a row, then jumped up to the allowance optional claiming ranks last time out and just really wasn't a factor. Didn't take 11 there, was 17-1. And I will say, she had a little bit of trouble, but it's not enough to excuse her performance, and obviously she probably belongs at the claiming ranks. But a couple of other horses come in here off of good performances. Betty Joe at a nice price on the morning line. East Coast Cowgirl off back-to-back wins where she was able to win against non-winners of 4 Life and more recently against Open, where she was claimed out of that event for $5,500. So competitive event here. And as we take a look at the time form US pace projections, I think the pace is something to talk about. It's really intriguing in this spot because we're not seeing necessarily a fast pace, but we're seeing some horses that could be forward. The 3, Berea is one that certainly could be used from the gate. We saw that last time out. We've seen that time and time again, whether that's been at Fawn or Prairie Meadows, even go further down the page to races at Horseshoe Indy. I think she's likely the pace setter. I do think the 4 Load Abroad wants to go. I just don't know how quick she is. I look at some of those races anywhere from 5 to 6 furlongs this season where she's made the lead. They've gone pretty slow early on, so I don't necessarily know if I agree with her tracking in second. I think it's more likely the 5 could be a little bit more forward, Kate's Princess. And even the 2 in here, East Coast Cowgirl, she's been pretty close, especially in her last out effort, and they went quicker than some of those races that Load Abroad exits. So be very curious to see how this pace sort of shapes up. Might as well dive right into it with the number 1 in here. It's going to kick things off. Texas Rain, a big price on the morning line at 20-1. She's an 8-year-old mare who, it's been a while she's been in the winner's circle. It's been a very long time, and I think that's what makes her certainly a tough sell on the top spot. And then furthermore, just look at her recent form. She was a good 3rd in her return to the races to kick off her 8-year-old campaign, but since then, she just hasn't been a factor. She doesn't have a ton of speed typically. I think that works against her, and she's 0 for 21 at Assiniboia Downs. So just looking at her on paper, she's a tough sell from me. Others, though, maybe to look at, the 2, East Coast Cowgirl. I think she's a major player in here as we take a look at her most recent performance. Both her and Betty Joe exit that key race on July 9th. And, in terms of the way it unfolded, just different running styles, right? East Coast Cowgirl found herself a little bit more forward, where Betty Joe was trying to close from off of it. It was a big field of 9. And these 2 ended up running very, very well. Actually, you can kind of even go further and say the top 3 ran well as they were clear of the rest of the bunch. And I like that tactical early foot that she's shown in the last 2. Obviously, they went a lot quicker last time out, and to see that she was still able to compete also while getting out of non-winners of 4 Life into the Open, I think that last race looks better than the 59 buyer suggests. I think it was a really, really good effort, and she just seems to be a well improved, a much improved 4-year-old filly compared to her 3-year-old campaign last year. So she certainly, to me, is a major player for the top spot. The 3, Berea up next, I mentioned she's likely to be part of the pace. She comes out of a race where last time out she was chasing the pace in there. She backed out. She finished 4th at Hera Columbus. And it's hard to read that form. I wanted to go a little further back, and I thought her form at Prairie Meadows was actually very good, where she was able to win. She had a second. They went quick. The question would be, though, the distance, right? Obviously, looking at those races at Prairie Meadow, she was forward and, more importantly, was going 5.5. 6 is probably going to be a little bit of a test for her, even though she has good performances at the distance. I wonder about her winning in this spot just for that reason alone. I think if this was 5.5, I think I'd be a little bit more comfortable using her on top. The number 4, Load Abroad. We will take a look at her effort 2 starts back. Now, that's on June 18th. That was at the $7,500 claiming ranks. And she's going to win in here. And all throughout the race, you can watch the whole race. I mean, she just was much the best. She was dominant early, drew clear, and still hung on to win by 3 1/4. I thought Texas Rain, ran her race, but obviously was just no match for the winner. And, last time out, they jumped her up again. And can understand why. They claimed her for $7,500. could go up, and maybe if they lost her or someone would claim her back, that would work out. But these connections have had her in the barn before. They obviously know where to spot her, just probably a little bit of an experiment last time out. And with them going quicker, she was not as forward. And I'm starting to wonder, in her performances this year, did she just get lucky? She got the lead, she went to the front, and she was able to prevail. She was heavily favored in there. I do know that she was able to beat East Coast Cowgirl 3 starts back, but I'm not enamored by the half-mile times in those races. And I think at 6-5, I would like to see her going a little bit quick. Obviously, she could be the class of this field. We saw last year, just around this time, she was comfortable, seeing quicker fractions and rating and making a late run. But I just kind of am being a little bit maybe critical of her wins this year. And I have to be, especially at 6-5. The 5, Kate's Princess, she was 3rd last time out, and she had actually tackled the boys 2 and 3 starts back. And you can see they've always made sort of a conscious effort to put her in tough spots where this is not the claiming price we've seen her for. And now you look at her, she drops in for $7,500. I think that alone is an interesting talking point. I think she has the ability to be more aggressive in here. She's a type that likes to be somewhat close to the pace, and I think the class relief helps her. She's 9 years old now, a horse that obviously I mentioned. She shows up. She typically isn't winning races this year, but look at her last year in 2024. It was sort of a stellar season for her. She was 5 for 10 in terms of wins. A lot of those races at 5.5, but she was even effective at 6 furlongs, and I just like her getting some class relief, and I think that could help her. And maybe she gets the right trip in here where she's, close to it, but she's not battling it out on the front end. But I said it in the pace projection. I think she could be more forward in here than the number 4. That's potentially how it could sort of unfold. The 6 up next here for Lauren Fraser. Blinkers go off. Just really hasn't shown speed. And you go down the page, it's been a really long time since we've seen this horse without blinkers. It looks like when this one was down in Louisiana. And just has that one local start. Maybe they learned something last time out. It was the first start since March. The barn change. A lot going on. Just don't like that East Coast Cowgirl and Betty Jo showed, sort of their true colors, or maybe she didn't, but she's still going to really need to step up. And she's another one. She's in for $7,500. She was in for $5,500 last time out. And then rounding out the field is the 7, Betty Jo, who's closing in that race that East Coast Cowgirl was able to win. And I shouldn't say she exited. That's kind of a mistake on my part. She actually raced since then at the 7/8 distance, and she was the pace setter in there. So it's kind of interesting to see her, right? Because when you go to the race 2 backs at a shorter sprint distance, she was closing from off of it. When they stretch out to 7/8, they crawled. I mean, they almost went 26 to the opening corner, 25-4 to be exact, 49-4 to the half. And that's why she found herself out there. I don't think that's her preferred running style, so I actually really like her cutting back in distance. I thought her efforts 2 and 3 back were very, very strong. She's only appeared here 3 times. The barn's having a stellar meet, so for me, she's a major player in here at what could be a decent price. But that is the field of 7 for the Tuesday race of the day. Don't forget race number 4 out at Assiniboia Downs. Free past performances on the DRF website. And as we take a look at my top picks in this spot, sort of, showed my cards once again. There are things that I think you can really love about the 4 Load Abroad, but there's also things that I think you can sort of poke holes in. And while her wins were impressive, she was able to win by several lengths in those starts. I didn't like her start last time out, and I just wonder if they're going to go quicker. And I feel like she has been lucky in some of those races where the number 2, East Coast Cowgirl, she's tactical. We've seen it in each and every start this year. She can roll from further off of it. She can be forward. They can go a little bit quicker than probably the average times of those races, and she can still be effective. So I like the confidence that she has this season as a 4-year-old filly. I'll use her over some others in here, including the 4 Load Abroad. And then I was torn between the 5 Kate's Princess and the 7 Betty Jo, and I kind of went back and forth on how to use them. I just felt like Kate's Princess is a horse that, for her, this is some class relief, where Betty Jo is going to have to kind of step up once again, but she should appreciate the cut back in distance. So 2, 4, 5, 7 for me, whatever you play at Assiniboia Downs this Tuesday. Good luck and cash some tickets.